Hi, welcome to another episode of MYD Global. I'm your host, Leanne Hackman-Carty. Today's episode, I speak to a woman who's making a real difference in Puerto Rico. She founded an organization called PRoTechos. And what it is, it's an earn and learn program. So people are involved in rebuilding their homes by learning how to build a roof. It's a great way to involve people in the recovery process and train them at the same time. And it only costs $5,000 for each roof to be built, and that includes all the labor, all the training, all the materials, etc. So stay tuned and learn more about this program and possibly how you can help. Hi, Emily. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Leanne. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My husband and I came to the island about 5-6 years ago, and we had been here on vacation before. We weren't really thinking about moving here when we came to look at it, but we fell in love with the island and we decided to make it our home. We had met people that just made us feel so welcome here, and beautiful surroundings, perfect weather. We were actually thinking, well, at least we'd want to have a vacation home here. Anyway, it ended up becoming the place where we wanted to stay. And in 2017, as everybody knows, Maria happened, Hurricane Maria and Hurricane Irma. And after the hurricane, I was frustrated. I just wanted to do something to help. And initially I thought, well, the first thing that we need is power. The entire island was without power at one point. And so I contacted, through a friend, I met Jonathan Marvel, who had started Resilient Power Puerto Rico, which was installing solar panels on 100 community centers throughout Puerto Rico's municipalities, 78 municipalities. And Jonathan had told me that RPPR was finding that there were so many roofs, actually pretty much anybody could see by looking at all the blue tarps everywhere that FEMA had put on, that you kind of need roofs before you can have solar. Yeah. So he had the idea of PRoTechos, and he had the name, but he didn't have the time to do it. So I took it and ran with it. I'm now the president of PRoTechos. We are a Puerto Rico nonprofit. We are also a U.S. 501c3. So we're certified under 1101.01 of Puerto Rico law and U.S. 501c3. And after Maria, we started our mission, which was not just to rebuild roofs, because Puerto Rico needed two things. Well, we need a lot of things, but the two things we were addressing were lack of roofs and lack of capacity in the construction industry. Yeah. Wanted to enable people to be able to get jobs in a booming construction industry at a time when so many people needed roofs. So we created a learn and earn program so that as we were building roofs, we would train people in the neighborhood, people in that community, to learn how to be carpenters, skilled carpenters, at least in terms of roof building. And those skills would instill confidence in members of the community and enable them to find jobs. And then in turn, they could help in their neighborhood and in other neighborhoods and help to rebuild. And so those two things, the roofs and the jobs, that was what got us started. And we've been going and going ever since. We started in year one. We started with 2 proof of concept roofs. We were working with an architect who was a professor at the University of Puerto Rico. So we had a group of architectural students, students from the School of Architecture, as our test trainees. So they were kind of the guinea pigs for the program. And they built 2 roofs under the instruction of Francisco Gutierrez, who was the professor at UPR. And we paid for the materials. And basically, Francisco had a construction company that paid the hourly wages to the students, and we reimbursed them for the wages. and those students learned to build. So that model worked. And you can see, we have YouTube videos, we have videos on our website where you can see actually one of the students talking about what he learned as a trainee and the challenges that they faced as they were rebuilding this roof, which previously had only a blue tarp to cover it. So I keep going and you may have questions.
Well, I love this concept, because so many times when a disaster happens, the locals, they lose their job, they lose their business, whatever, and they're also not included in the rebuild and the recovery. And so something like this is so practical, because not only are they helping get their own families up and running again, but they're helping their neighbors, and they're getting a skill at the same time. You know, they can go get paid to do other roofs. So they actually get paid to do this, or is this?
Yes, we start them at minimum wage. We do. We pay for the materials, and we provide training through a program where when the trainees come in and they start to learn, they're paid minimum wage for every hour that they devote to building and learning. And if they continue with the program, there is a possibility for them to get promoted within the crew and ultimately become a trainer, because we pay the trainers too. Yeah. We have had quite a bit of success with this, actually, this model. Our very first trainee became a project manager. So he went from, you know, learning how to build them to learning how to teach others to build them to learning how to manage the entire project from start to finish. And we've done that twice. We have one other trainee who's done the same thing. We also had a trainee who became a foreman, and he also trains new people. So what we're trying to do, I mean, you know, the old adage, teach a man to fish, is particularly appropriate here. We're teaching people to fish. So instead of handing out the fish, we are building people's self-images, and we're giving them valuable skills so that they can find employment. You know, Hurricane Maria damaged so much more than roofs. It really damaged psyches. People need self-confidence. People need to be built back up again. And they can't necessarily afford to take the time to go to school, nor do they have the funds to pay for courses. Yeah. So we're providing that very basic carpentry education and safety training to each of these people for free. And we're giving them just enough, you know, the minimum wage, so that they can, while they're learning, they can feed their families. Yeah. So in year one, we built 6 roofs, and that was, you know, full year one, 2018. In year 2, we built another 18 roofs. Yep. And today, actually, I hope that we will have completed our 26th roof. Yep. Our goal is not to just crank them out as fast as we can. You have to keep in mind that as we're building these, we're teaching people, we're training them how to build it securely, how to build it strong, so that we don't have this problem again. Yeah. So in the process of doing these 26 roofs, we have trained over 100 people. And that does include some of the SBP. We've been working with SBP Puerto Rico, which is a branch of SBP that started out in Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina. They have local AmeriCorps volunteers from Puerto Rico that are that we have trained in safety, you know, how to put a harness on, you know, what you have to do when you go on top of a roof, and how to build a resilient roof. Yeah. So that's really our focus. You know, of course, we'd love to be able to roll the program out and create more teams, but currently we only have funding to do one team, one roof at a time. If this concept, with the proper funding, this concept could be expanded so that we could do many, many, many more roofs. Yeah. But we don't want to do it in a way that you know, wouldn't result in having the very best roof and the very best trained people. So yes, the goal is definitely hundreds. Eventually, that's going to require an awful lot of money. And I'm happy to go into that if you like, what it costs to build a roof, what it costs to train a person, etc.
That would be great, because I think if someone's watching and say they have access to funds and they want to participate and support you, What are you talking when you talk one roof and one trained person?
Sure. Okay, so basically all in, we can, generally speaking, we can do a roof for about $5,000. Okay, the materials could range from $2,000 to $3,000. And then the labor and the training and the insurance is the rest of it.
Yeah.
Okay, because we also have to provide workers' comp, which is funded through there's a Puerto Rico entity that requires it for each project. And we have our own insurance, and we have to have transportation, we've got to pay for transporting materials, which seems to sometimes be quite a big chunk of what we're spending. But we certainly need trucks. If anyone out there would like to volunteer to donate a truck. We currently are using one that a board member has generously loaned to us. We definitely could use more support for a lot of what we're doing, but based on our current funding, we'll be able to continue with this one team at a time, training, on each roof. Generally, we have a foreman, we have 2 skilled workers, we have 1 trainee, and we have a project manager. So that's 5 people who are earning something. The project manager earns more than, they're different levels of pay. The trainees are all earning, each trainee is earning minimum wage.
Yeah.
When they graduate to the, basic skilled worker, there's like 2 levels of skilled workers. They get a little bit more, and then they get a little bit more, et cetera. So it's certainly a concept that is capable of expansion. It's just, with the right funding. I mean, if you imagine that one roof takes $5,000, tell me you want, 100 roofs. There you go.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. When you think about the cost, if you were to repair a roof, have it resilient so it's not going to be, the next hurricane comes through, it's not impacted the way it was before, you're probably saving a lot of money inside the home, people's goods and having to just be displaced. So it's honestly, I love the program. Is there anything else before we wrap up that maybe I didn't ask and you wanted to share?
Well, we have videos we have our own YouTube channel. And I would suggest to people, if they'd like to see that what we do and they'd like to support what we do, to please, well, first of all, go to our website, which is PRoTechos.org. It's PROTECHOS.org. And on there, you will find all the links to all of our social media. We are on Facebook, and we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we have the YouTube channel. So we're a very lean organization. We are going to have our first full-time paid administrative employee who is going to be our executive director, starting February 10th.
Awesome.
So
I'll include all those links and your YouTube channel so people can go there and find out more about your organization and hopefully support you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to tell you about PRoTechos.
Well, I'm glad I found out about you, and all the best in the future as you continue to help people have their homes restored.
Thank you so much, Leanne.
Okay, bye-bye.